The OTH Hockey Podcast with myself, Sam McGinnis, Luke, and Frederick. How are you guys doing today?
Doing very well.
Thank you.
Very well.
This week is going to be especially fun because this time we get to talk about the Stanley Cup playoffs. We're going to be previewing and predicting them today, and we're probably all going to be wrong because it is the Stanley Cup playoffs.
It's never gonna work. If you want predictions, go for the opposite. I pick usually. That's a great strategy.
I feel like that's how everyone feels because I have yet to meet someone that's actually predicted all of the series correctly.
True, but I think the past 2 years I predicted like each playoff series. I think I got like 4 corrects. That's it.
Over 2019 was especially weird though.
Yeah, that's true.
Who is going to say the Blues were going to win it all?
Yeah, but it's always exciting to watch these playoffs year after year.
Yeah. All right, let's get right into it with the Avs-Blues series. How do you feel about this one, guys?
I think the Avalanche take the series only because what I've seen from this year, especially with Nathan MacKinnon, and especially with the idea that the Avs almost won the President's Trophy, that's a really big – that could be a really big threat to the Blues, especially since the past several months, the Blues haven't had a really great year as opposed to their Stanley Cup run in 2019. So I saw one of the main issues was that getting the emotionally under control of Jordan Binnington, especially because of what happened to him this season. I think he had a little more emotionally, and plus, you can only have that core for so long until it realizes that it doesn't work anymore. So I think since the Avalanche put a really well team together, especially after what happened last year's playoffs, I think the Avalanche take this. I think the Avalanche take this one in, 5 games. I think the Blues might get, actually, let's say the Avalanche take it in 6 games. I think there will be a series that the Blues can have some fight in them, but I think the Avalanche take this in 6.
Yeah, I'm tempted to say 5 just to be a little bit different, but yeah, it's a series where the Avalanche definitely are favorites. Coming off the President's Trophy, I know the President's Trophy is cursed. Don't get me wrong, but it's also they have just a good stacked team, like up and down the roster. Like they have a stronger team than they had last year, where I think they were up and down like the clear-cut favorites, and I think they would have won had it not been because all of their goaltenders got injured and they had to start Hutchinson in game 7 and 6 against the Stars. I think they win that series if they have Grubauer or Franz Osendet. Obviously now they still have that question mark. If Grubauer gets injured again, is Devin Dubnyk ready? That's a debatable question. As a Wild fan, even though I don't look like it, I apologize to all Minnesota Wild fans watching right now. They are disowning me. But no, with that whole thing, we know Devin Dubnyk he can have great games. He can be a great goalie. He has showed that in the past, but he's also starting to decline in his quality of play due to age. He's not the same that he was. Is he going to be enough to bring you over the edge when you come up against Tampa? If you come up against Vegas? If he was right on, I think that could be the downfall of the Colorado Avalanche. But I think against the Blues, I think they win in 6 games.
Yeah, I generally got to agree with you guys with at least the fact that they will win. My thing is, obviously you can't count the Blues out, but my problem is actually Jordan Binnington. He literally had 1.5 years and then fell off a cliff. He has not been the same goaltender since the playoffs of last year.
Jordan Binnington is a new Matt Murray. Jordan Binnington's new Matt Murray.
He's the one you remember.
Yeah, he's like, again, like we always have that one goalie where it's like, where did you come from? It's like either it's like Andrew Hammond, who comes into like a series like red hot, steals like a few games, and you go, why have we never noticed this guy? And then the next year you realize, oh, that's why. Jordan Binnington was the ultimate of that. Nobody knew his name until he suddenly came up and started just stealing games. And since then, he is not really. I think he's an okay goalie, but you need more than okay to win a playoff series, especially against Colorado.
I was about to say, especially against the high guns of Colorado, the last thing you need is an okay-ish goalie.
Yeah, especially against the fact that Colorado, where I think they're strongest, is their ability to get the defense to jump into place. If you look at that team, Samuel Girard, Cal McCarr, Devon Taves, all of these strong defensemen are so good puck movers, and they really jump into the place. One of the things I noticed with Jordan Binnington is he doesn't track the puck well when it comes from a distance. There's a lot of shot that goes by him where it's like shot from the point with like slight traffic. He seems to have trouble getting past the traffic. That is one of the forces of a team like the Colorado Avalanche. So for me, he has to be better in this playoff series.
Yeah, and speaking of players coming from the point, I mean, you've got Cale Makar back there.
Norwich candidate, honestly.
Yeah, you've got to be able to stop shots from the point. That's just part of a goaltender's routine job. So yeah, I'm gonna switch it up a little here and say Colorado in 5. I will say that the Blues will at least get a game or 2 on them, maybe 3, but I don't really see a way that the Avs don't lose this series unless they give it to the Blues.
A bit of a fun stat about the Colorado Avalanche: they have been in so many games like playoff series, and they always been they tend to have had a good team, like first with Forsberg and Sakic and that whole fantastic team that they had, and now this one. Somehow, one of their downfalls is Game 7s. I don't think they have ever won a Game 7 in their existence, which is mesmerizing to hear. If the Blues can force them into a Game 7, could like the old ghost of like a Kiviranta or Nino Niederreiter actually come back a little bit, because they all know what that is. Those kind of former things where it goes wrong in a Game 7. And again, for the St. Louis Blues, it's about making the series go as long as possible and try to, each game, keep the score close for as long as possible, because the Avalanche are great at being in front. If you can keep the score down and get them frustrated because they know they're favorites, that's how the Blues can win. And a little bit of morale, I guess, to St. Louis fans. They won the last 2 games against the Avalanche this season, so it's not completely out of the question.
No. I think there is a remote chance they could win the series.
Yes. I would say like I don't know, 85% for Colorado Avalanche and 15% for St. Louis, but it's also doable. We've seen worse us bring a victory, so it's gonna be fun.
Yeah. I'm going to say in 5 that we're going to move on to the Minnesota Wild Vegas Golden Knights series. Woo! I was actually somewhat disappointed that this ended up being the series, because honestly, if the Minnesota Wild had been playing the Avalanche, I think they would have had a better shot. I think that could have been an upset. I'm really, for you personally, Frederick, I'm thinking this is a worse matchup.
Okay, I think I can see where you're coming from, because where Minnesota is possibly having the ability to kind of defensively shut out people like McKinnon and stuff like that due to that strong defense. I kind of see that where I think Vegas is a much tighter team, and they hit you on the break so fast. Vegas is so much fun to watch because their ability to go from defense to offense happens like that, and I don't think any team can match that. Their breakout is so good. But one of the things that's funny about the Minnesota Wild and the Avalanche series, or the Vegas series, is in regular seasons, at least, and I know playoff and regular seasons are different beasts entirely, but the Minnesota Wild has the upper hands. So a lot of Minnesota Wild fans actually been wishing for this series to be a thing. Also because each and every game is actually incredibly fun to watch. Every game has something to do. Every game is fun. Like the first game was the one where Mark Stone basically put up 5 assists, primary assists, and just destroyed the Minnesota Wild, like after being behind like 3-0 or something. And then you have like wins for the Minnesota Wild where Kaprizov goes nuts, and we have Kaprizov generally breaking a nose of, I don't remember who it was from. I think it was Whitecloud from Vegas Golden Knight in like one of the last meetings this season. So it's gonna be a war. Like that series is gonna be must watch in my opinion. Like I think that and the Florida series that we'll come to, I think those are the best series this entire run, because you're gonna see speed from both teams. You're gonna see star players in from both teams, and you're gonna see two teams who just dislike each other with a burning passion. Like more so than the Colorado Avalanche, I think Minnesota has a new biggest rival, at least in this division and this year in Vegas.
Yeah, and I think when it comes to it for me, I think the goaltending is one of the biggest things when you look at playoff series, and I think the superior has to go to Vegas on that one. I do think Cam Talbot can put up a fight, though.
Talbot's good. Talbot has been great this season. The problem is Marc-Andre Fleury found a time machine or something in the offseason.
Well, and even if he got hurt, Robin Lehner is almost just as good at the back, and he's been better than him depending on the series you've been talking about in the past. Yeah. So it's not like they don't have a replacement.
Nope. Any words on the series, Luke?
He's hurting inside.
No, don't worry about it. It's something else. I think Vegas takes the series. The fact that now that they are the President's they're not the President's Trophy winners. They were the fact that they are so good. They have to rely on Robin Lehner to, pretty much be there for who they flew into the first round again.
Minnesota.
Oh, okay.
Minnesota Vegas.
Yeah. And this is also something interesting about. Well, the Knights are going to be pretty good, I think, in this first round. But here's what I want to see from the Wild anyway. I want to see if Kaprizov is exactly what he was advertised in the playoffs. If he can perform in the playoffs, that would be perhaps the best storyline I think for the Wild this year. Is that considering what he's especially what he's doing this entire year, especially how he's really performed as a rookie, and I really want to see him continue that sort of idea in the playoffs. And I think that's my only thing with the Wild for this. But I really don't see anything else that technically bothers me. Maybe I'm not as big as Wild fan as you are, Frederick, but I don't really think I see anything else doing that. As for my prediction, I guess I'll say Golden Knights in 5. I think the Knights will definitely outrun the Minnesota Wild for the most part, but I think the Wild will win maybe one game, maybe is that on the road or at home? We don't know. I think the Wild will take one game in the series, but I think the Knights pretty much take the series.
All right. What do you think, Frederick? How many games? Which team?
I think Luke is probably more realistic than I am, but I remember the last show we did, during the trade deadline, I said Minnesota was able to beat Vegas if it came to a playoff series, and I'll take it to it. Minnesota wins the series in 6 games. Off the back of Kaprizov being exactly as advertised in the playoff, and Kevin Fiala really, really hitting as he did against Vancouver last year. But because of Kaprizov, he's no longer the main man, so people kind of forget about Fiala is here, and he is still good. And then you have like the strong defensive core that really, really need to take you to victory, where Talbot is having to step up. He has fallen down a little bit compared to his midseason. He has to step up back again. But I have the Minnesota Wild winning this in 6 games. I think they are gonna do it. I think the Minnesota Wild is a team that has nothing to lose, and that's a scary team to face in the playoff when you're the favorites. We saw it with Columbus versus Tampa a few years ago. When you face a team that has nothing to lose, it's never gonna be easy. So I'm excited about it.
All right, I think I'm gonna go with Vegas in 6 or 7. Personally, I think I know everybody tries to harp on the Colorado Avalanche as being like the heavy Stanley Cup favorites, and I've heard some ridiculous notions about the Maple Leafs because of easy schedule. Oh, that'll be a fun one to get to later.
Yeah.
But I think for me, I think Vegas is slightly more complete than that of the Avs, and I think they've gone a little bit deeper a couple of times than the Avs have. So I trust them generally more to get it done.
Like I will say, if it's Vegas versus the Avalanche in the next round, that is going to be that's almost like Stanley Cup final caliber of the series.
It is. Honestly, if those two were in different conferences, that would be the kind of matchup you'd be hoping for the Stanley Cup.
That is 1 and 2 actually in the standings as well, like President's Trophy wise. That's 1 and 2 versus each other. Who best team in the league?
All right.
What a series.
Let's move on to the Maple Leafs Canadian series. This is fun because I've heard many Maple Leaf fans express discomfort that they happen to be playing Carey Price in the first round. What do you guys think about that?
Why?
I gotta move this spot though because the light's killing me.
I mean, really, Maple Leafs fans have every right to feel a lot confident because of how their team played this year, especially with the whole Austin Matthews, especially with the way that Austin Matthews and Mitch Marner and everyone else is just continuing to play pretty well. And considering that they were playing in a pretty weak division, it doesn't really surprise me to how confident they are about the fact that they'll win this series. I don't know why. I don't know how the Habs managed to get in, especially with the way that they haven't been playing especially well. At least what I've seen. I've seen them. They have great players. I think Cole Caulfield, especially in the last couple of games of the season, has shown he has the type of talent he can be, especially in a full season. So I like what the Habs. I like what the Habs have had, but I don't think they're going to survive with the same ideals as what the Maple Leafs are going to put out there. I just think that what I see from the Maple Leafs is just they are confident. They understand everything. I think this is a very, very good series for the Maple Leafs. Do I think the Habs win the game? Maybe if they're lucky, but I'm going to say Habs in 5. I'm not Habs. Maple Leafs in 5. I'll say Maple Leafs in 5 just simply because I don't think the Habs really have any really business of being here. They just got lucky because they're in a division where it's just only one team and pretty much everyone else is just trying to catch up to that one team at least. So I just think Maple Leafs take this in 5 games.
Yeah. For me, I don't understand the fear of Carey Price because unless he finds the time machine that Marc-Andre Fleury had and goes back to like 2016, I don't feel like Carey Price is going to be that. He has not been good in the past few seasons. And for me, Jack Campbell has stolen the show in that division completely. Like, he has been so good, and all the credit to Jack Campbell. But I also feel like now I know people will go on. Oh, he allowed four last game, and he didn't really look too confident. I thought Patrick Anderson looked fine in his comeback game. I generally thought he looked good. Yes, he allows 4 goals on like I think 26 shots or something, which stat wise looks terrible. When you look at the goals, it's bad bounces, it's breakaways, and it's like 2-on-1s and screens. It's not. I don't think you can blame that on a goaltender. And I think he looked good. So again, even if Jack Campbell gets hurt, I think Frederik Andersen probably one of the more stable backups to go into a playoff with. So for me, you obviously ride the hot hand until Jack Campbell falters, but if need be, Frederik Andersen's there. So for me, the only chance that I see the Montreal Canadiens having the goaltending duel is if Carey Price returns to 2016 form, and I don't think that's too likely. The one thing I will say though is, in general, I look at the Montreal Canadiens, and I generally see a really balanced team. I see a really, really good balanced team in a lot of aspects on paper. They just have not really succeeded with this year to get that working. But I think with Cole Caulfield, I think they got some new life into the lineup. So yeah, it's gonna be fun to see that series. And again, it's a rivalry to the extreme, so everything can happen. And I think like everything has been so that Leaf have a better record, but I remember the first few games of the season. Like, I believe that it was the Montreal Canadiens who won the majority of those games. So I'm not counting out the Montreal Canadiens too much, but I think the Leafs takes this in 6.
Yeah, I'm with you on that one. I will say this in reminder of all that. I think if the series goes long to 7 games, I think it's then when the Leafs will falter. So they need to win earlier because they don't do game 7s very well. They just don't.
Yeah.
The ghost
for
of
me,
the past will come to haunt them.
If you're me, the Leafs need to have the as quick as we can get this series done mentality. So I think if it comes to a 4 to 6 games, then it will be the Leafs on top. If it is a game 7, then the Habs will be the ones winning this one.
Yeah.
And that's my thinking as well. Like, the Leafs need this to be ended in game 5 at home so there's no issue. If they lose, let's say they have a 3-1 lead, it goes back to Montreal. Then all the questions starts popping up about are we really gonna choke this once again? And I think no matter how strong mentality you have as a player, that is gonna creep into your mentality because every single Leaf fan knows the story. You know the story of the franchise you're in. So, and it's gonna be important the first few games as well. For how does Jack Campbell look in the playoff? We have never seen him in a playoff series. How does he take this responsibility as a starter now? Like the bona fide starter in the playoff for probably the biggest franchise in the entire league. How does he handle this responsibility? How does he handle the pressure? If he drops the first 2 games, like say he allows 4 and has like 2 bad games, what happens? Do the Leaf go back to Frederik Andersen?
I mean, Jack Campbell was the backup to begin the season.
Yep. And that's the thing. They have 2 very competent goalies. But do Sheldon Keefe dare to take Campbell out if that happens?
Here's the thing. You've got the combination with that decision. You could destroy his confidence if you take him out. But at the same time, when we look at the Game 7s that the Leafs had against Boston, the only reason they were able to even get there is because of Frederik Andersen in the first
Exactly.
So,
like,
it's kind of Sorry. I think you got to do whatever. I think regardless of whether you destroy Jack Campbell or not, at this point, if the Leafs don't win a series, it's going to be all over. The team's going to blow it up or something stupid will happen.
Something has to happen.
They have to win. So whatever that, if that means taking out Jack Campbell, then that means taking out Jack Campbell.
Yeah. The thing is, if they don't get past the first, they have to get past at least 1 round. Else, one of the major pieces, Austin Matthews, I don't think will go because he's too good. He's the everything. I don't think John Tavares is captain, but I think one of Nylander or Marner will get traded. But for me, one of the things that people always go, Frederik Andersen chokes in Game 7s. Well, does anybody remember when the Leafs had a Game 6 in Toronto where they had a potential to knock out Boston, where he generally kept them in that game for like 59 minutes because of stellar goaltending. Like Boston was all over that game. So for me, it's Frederik Andersen can do it, absolutely, but so can Jack Campbell. And right now, Leaf has 2 good goaltenders. It's a luxury problem. But what do they do if something happens here? What is their move if Jack Campbell loses the first 2? And suddenly you have a worry. Like, if the Leafs drop the first 2, chaos happens. Like, the first 2 games are going to be so important.
All right. We move on now to, I think, probably one that I think we finally might disagree on, and that is the Jets-Oilers series. This is going to be fun.
Didn't we disagree on Minnesota Wild versus Knights?
I think you picked the Wild out of hoping somewhere in your heart that your team would pull it off. But I think we all know deep down somewhere that
Game 7, Victor Rash scoring. I have hope.
Yes. All right, but the Jets and the Oilers. Luke, what are your thoughts on this one?
I mean, okay. Here's my thing on the Oilers. Connor McDavid has done everything he's done this season to become a fantastic player and perhaps the best superstar in the NHL. I really think he's done a lot. But the thing is, can he do that in the playoffs? That also depends. Because you have to realize all that means nothing unless you win in the playoffs. So that's going to be the Oilers' biggest question. Can they somehow try to work with Connor McDavid as well and try to beat that Jets team? Now, granted, this Jets team was able to get to the playoffs after losing Patrick Laine and gaining Pierre-Luc Dubois, but I don't see. But then again, you have to realize that this Jets team still has a really strong core, a really strong roster, and it all depends on what's going to happen against that series. Now, do I think that the Oilers win this series? I say yes, but I think if the Jets really want to have that certain fight back into them, and if they really want to fight, I say they have to fight to at least Game 6 in order to have some idea on how to maybe beat the Oilers. Now, the whole thing is just going to be, is Connor McDavid, will this kind of make the whole thing going into playoffs, is will Connor McDavid's prime season go to waste? And I don't think that'll be the case in this first round. maybe if they get to a further round and they come across the Leafs or one of their bigger opponents, then not the Leafs. I'm sorry. Maybe if they come across the Avalanche or the Knights, that might be the bigger question. But I just think that this first round, I think that the Oilers take this in, I think, 5 games. I think the Oilers take it in 5 games. I feel like Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl, they combined for a lot of points in this first round against a Jets defense that ironically isn't the worst in the NHL, but it's not great either.
All right, Frederick.
Well, we are gonna disagree on this. I just looked at like the heads up this season. The last 6 games has all gone to the Edmonton Oilers. But there again, I said it with the Minnesota Wild. Regular season record. When you go into the playoffs, who cares? Who cares? It's different games, it's different ball games, it's different speeds. But here's the thing about the Winnipeg Jets. Last few games that they have met the Edmonton Oilers, which is kind of important, the Jets were out the best forward. Nikolai Ehlers has been lights out Jets' best forward this season. Not because of his goal scoring. I think if it's goal scoring, people would go with Scheifele or Connor or for that matter, Pierre Dubois. But Ehlers does something that I think the Jets need offensively. He drives that offense. He gets the puck into the zone. Every time he's on the ice, he seems almost able to get the puck onto his stick, move from defense to offense, and either he gets a good scoring chance, sets up a good scoring chance, or he draws a penalty. And the Jets have been deadly on power plays. That's been one of the things that really, really excelled Lightning, for instance, was the fact that they got so many power plays, which, if you get a power play with Patrick Laine, there's a good chance he will shoot the puck, and there's a good chance he'll score. So for me, Nikolai Ehlers is probably the most important player offensively, and they've been without him since the Toronto game. So they're getting him back. That's massive for Winnipeg to get that guy back, because he's going to drive the offense, get some power plays time, and then you have the ability also for, I think, Connor Hellebuck to possibly step up his game. He tends to be good on the playoff. I think he's going to excel a little bit as well. But again, it's an uphill battle because you have to play McDavid in a season where McDavid is like putting up Gretzky's type numbers. But I think the Jets wins this in 7. I think the Winnipeg Jets can push it, and I'm excited to see a genuine foot race between Ehlers and McDavid, because it's probably the 2 fastest skaters in this entire league.
Well, and I want to point out something. Everybody's talking about Connor McDavid's season, and then we forget to realize that all the teams he's played the entire year are only Canadian teams.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah, he played 10 games against the Ottawa Senators.
Yeah.
While extremely fun, defensively, well, they were well.
And in net with Matt Murray, oh my goodness.
Well, they got Gustafsson, which was kind of okay, but
yeah, no, you see, yeah, and this is the same thing I'm talking about with Austin Matthews. Everybody's talking about, well, he would have had 60-something goals if this was a regular season. No, he wouldn't have, because he'd be playing Andrei Vasilevsky and Tuukka Rask instead of Matt Murray. Yeah. So here's my problem. Regardless of who comes out of this division ultimately, are immediately going to get destroyed by either the Colorado Avalanche or the Vegas Golden Knights, who will be sitting in the 3rd round waiting for them. Who gets there? I think I'm going to give this one to the Oilers. I think last season I actually said the Blackhawks would beat the Oilers last season because I thought they matched up pretty well with the veteran versus new. And I think the Oilers still have the issue of having almost 0 depth. But now it's more like 5 guys instead of just 3. So this is an improvement, and I think is enough to win them a series. But I think they'll probably falter in round 2 to the Maple Leafs. They've been pretty bad against them this year. Let's see here. Next up, we want to move to the Central, or do we want to move to the East?
Let's just go Central. Then we can move
let's go Central,
to East, I think.
All right. Central's got a couple of fun battles. We'll start with the Hurricanes versus the Predators. I think this is one of the bigger ones that we could see an upset in.
Honestly, yeah.
No?
The way that the Predators
he's like,
honestly, I could see it. The Predators, despite how their year began, they definitely grown into a much stronger team. It's in a division where you have a lot of teams where they know their core, and everyone did not expect the Predators to survive. They managed finally to do it, but in an amazing way, especially with John Hynes, who has coached us for years, is now somehow figured out a way to coach these guys into becoming a playoff team. But regardless of the fact that the Predators have been a really strong team, especially the fact that, but the thing is, this is the big question here is this going to be Pekka Rinne's last home ride, or depending on if this will be Pekka Rinne's last chance at hopes for a cup at least, because this guy's no longer been good, at least at some point or another. This season has not shown any signs of him becoming a great goalie, at the very least. At least not what I've seen him. And as for the Hurricanes, well, the fact that you still have the Hurricanes, you led the division for most of the year. You still have Sebastian Aho. You still have all those guys who have been at a core, a really, really well done core. Now, is there a chance for an upset? Maybe, but if I see it in a way that I think the series could go 7. I honestly could see the series go 7 if both teams certainly have a way of fighting the series. Do I think the Predators have a good core roster in order to get to 7 games? Sure. Do I think they win 7 games? That's a tougher question. I think the Hurricanes take this in 7 at the very least, because I feel like the Hurricanes are going to allow the Predators to have a good couple of games every now and then, and I feel like the Predators do have enough fight in them in order to get to at least game 7. Do they win? No, I say Hurricanes in 7.
Okay, I probably should elaborate a little bit on my surprise, because this is the one series I have a sweep in. I have the Carolina Hurricanes sweeping the Preds at this one. I think that I have the Carolina Hurricanes as actually probably my favorite to win this year. They just look good. Like, I really like this team, and I've been liking this team for a while. It's kind of the same as like Tampa Bay for a few seasons ago, where it's like teasingly getting good and good and good, and you always wonder, when are you gonna win? When are you gonna make that deep run? I think this is the year. They just look really, really good, and I think a player like Sebastian Aho, Tara Vinen, Nino Niederreiter, Svechnikov, John Stahl, like, they have such a good mix of young and kind of veteran presence on that team. And the one question mark is Mrazek. What can he do in a playoff? Like, he obviously has flashes where he shows absolute brilliance. Like, he shows what a good goalie he can be. He needs to show that consistently, and I have a feeling he will. I have a feeling that this is a year for Carolina where they really make it far as well on the back end, where they just have brilliant defense. I think Nashville's, the one argument I can follow is Pekka Rinne. This is his goodbye. This is absolutely his goodbye. He will play to win his last game, like no other. He wants to go out with a cup, and those kind of players will not just give a second effort; they will give a third and a fourth to make sure that they make the save. And again, if Pekka Rinne finds that form that he had in 2017, of course they have a chance. But I think it's a much to rely on a 38-year-old or 38 years. I think it is Pekka Rinne.
38.
Yep.
38.
Year-old goalie. I think that's a lot to rely on. I feel like they lack a little bit in defense. I feel like they lack a bit offensively. It's not a bad team at all. I love what they've done, and I think a player that kind of, in my opinion, that they found some life in, again, like on the back half of the season, was Luke Connon. Like, I think he's been starting to look really, really good for the Predators, especially on the last half of the season. He started really finding his form that, of course, as a Minnesota Wild fan, we always knew he had. He shows some flashes, which is weird. He's very streaky, so if he can hit it and have other players like Peter Forsberg hit it off in the right timing, yeah, obviously there's a chance. But I just think there's so much more quality on almost each position outside goaltending that I think Carolina sweeps the series and makes this kind of fast work of this.
See, I'm gonna actually say that the Predators are probably one of the better fourth place teams I think we have out there, if not the best fourth place team. And I think with me, the Carolina Hurricanes are pretty obvious as to where they lie. The last few times they've been in the playoffs, they've beaten opponents they should have or a little bit better. But when they face legitimate like Stanley Cup contending opponents like the Boston Bruins, for instance, they lost both times. I think it'll be the same thing this year. With that in mind, I think they'll beat the Predators, but I think it'll be a long series. The only reason I can't see this actually being pulled off by the Predators is specifically because of Pecorine, and he is one of the biggest choke jobs ever. So if they do get to a Game 7, you can guarantee it's over.
Yeah, I can see, again. It's gonna be interesting. Like again, also if say the Preds upset, what do the Carolina Hurricanes do? Because again, I said it before. They are always seeming like a good team. They always teach you about being like on the cusp of winning. If they don't win, you're starting to ask questions about when it's gonna happen. So that's gonna be fun.
I feel like if they win a playoff series or two, it'll be a success. Even though they won the division and everything, I really think if they do that,
I think
that's good enough. Because you see, the thing is they shouldn't even have won the division anyway, because Stamkos and Kucherov were out for the majority of the year for the Lightning. They shouldn't even be here.
I think
considering
Predators would be a disappointment. I think Tampa and Florida would be understandable.
Speaking of Florida, we got the Battle of Florida here in the Central Division now.
Yeah,
I love how everybody's hyping this up to be some unbelievable series. The goaltending difference is so phenomenal; it's insane. Unless they start Drager.
Yeah, I think
it's over.
I see the Lightning taking this series only because they they still at the beginning of the year they were without Nikita Kucherov, and now they have him back, and yet they were still finding ways to become a team that would most likely try to defend their Stanley Cup, and they were doing it in really good ways. And I think this is a really well put together core, especially with all the stuff they had at the beginning of the year. And I really like, as much as I hate the Lightning, I think they have a great team put together, no matter who they are, no matter who they are. I think this is a really good Lightning team. And do they have a chance to defend their cup title? Absolutely. Will they do it? That depends on what happens in like the second or third round. But I think the Lightning take this series in 7. Now I think the Panthers do have a spot. I do think the Panthers do have some do have a chance in the series, especially with the way they've been performing this year, especially with Jonathan Huberdeau still injured.
I think he's ready. Yeah, from what I could tell, he seemed ready.
Okay, yeah, I think Jonathan. Yeah, I think because of how the Jonathan Huberdeau has been having, I think he's definitely becoming one of the better players on that roster for now. Unless if you don't, as long as you don't start taking Sergei Bobrovsky, you're good in this series. I think Riga's a pretty good goalie. Who's the goalie for the Panthers again?
I think it's gonna be Drager that starts.
Drager, okay, yeah, okay. If they start him, I think they win. They could win this series. I think the Lightning take this in 7. I think the Panthers and Lightning are two very solid rosters who could go all the way and get this to 7 games at least.
Yeah, for me, this is probably one of the closer series. It's really, really good in my opinion. Like it has a lot of great, in my opinion, like good matchups. Like this is the series I'm the most excited for. Outside obviously Minnesota, because I'm a Wild fan. I'm gonna watch each and every game and be more and more nervous each and every game. But this series just has so many stories to it. Like first of all, it's the 2 Florida Cups, so the first time meeting in the playoff. That is so exciting. I think from what I can tell, the arena is going to be pretty much sold out. From what I can tell, I think that they are going to have somewhat close to sold out arenas. Great fans in the stands, love that. But also just the matchups. You have Vasilevs, you have the defending powerhouse against someone who's been a laughingstock in the league. But finally, we're seeing what they can do. Like the Barkov, the Huberdeau, that that team of like so many good players and so much talent finally getting the kind of, I think, season that I think a lot of fans just been waiting for. This has to be the year for Florida, and it's going to be tight. I think each and every game is going to be close, and I think we're going to probably see the most overtime games. However, if I'm going to go with a prediction, I think the defending champs takes it. I think it's going to be Tampa in 6, taking it at home.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to agree with you. I had Tampa in 6 as I was thinking about this, and I think it could go to 7, like Luke is saying. My only thing is just I think the goaltending, even with Drager, is significantly better just because it's Andrei Vasilevsky, and on top of that, they're gonna get all their people back in Kucherov and Stamkos, and we saw what happened last year when they got Stamkos back in the finals. It was game on from that point and lights out for Dallas from that point on.
Yeah. When Vasilevsky's on this game, Tampa wins. He is so good, and he's so. The only thing with Vasilevsky is he has shown before that if you can rattle him, you can rattle him, and he has shown that a few times in like also Olympics and other places. Like if you can rattle him, juniors and world championships. If you can rattle him, if you can get in his face and kind of put him out of that bubble where he's in the zone, you can get goals past him. He isn't invincible. But when he's on, he wins the game.
Yeah. All right. Let me make sure I got everything up here so we didn't miss anything. Don't believe we did. So moving on to the East Division. I thought for a minute I was going to be writing about this one. I was going to love to say how I thought the Penguins were going to lose, despite everybody. So we got the Penguins Islanders series here. This is going to be a fun one to talk about because a lot of Penguins fans think they're somehow out of the woods.
Yeah. I think this is a strong series for both teams, depending on how both of them have played this year. The Islanders definitely have shown a lot more. They have a lot more candidacy as one of the best teams in the playoffs because you still have Jordan Eberle, you still have Matt Barzal, you still have a lot of those players continuing to pretty much just be impressive on that court. And when you try to get two veterans like Kyle Palmieri and Travis Zajac, you're also getting a very good veterans core who, granted, Zajac has been to the playoffs for a long time with us, and you also have Palmieri, who's only been to the playoffs several times with us, only like one time with us. But I think they still have a great veteran core. As for the Penguins, I just think that this is a great chance for a bench because last year they were eliminated by that same Islanders team, right? I think I was right. Yeah,
that was 2 years ago.
Yeah, 2 years ago.
Okay, yeah, 2 years ago. Yeah,
5 of 4 games.
Yeah. Oh yeah, they were eliminated. Okay. Yeah. So they were. Yeah. So this is a good chance for the Penguins to give a bench on that first round. I think that this Islanders team definitely has the right. I mean, this Penguins team is great. Especially with the amount of players that they've had this year, because I thought this year they would have not at least been totally good, but I thought because at the beginning of the year they wouldn't have been as good as they expected, but they definitely showed. They've gotten my attention, especially with Sidney Crosby, and especially with how old you're not using him getting Malkin anymore. Malkin hasn't really been as strong as he used to be, and I think this is something that the Penguins and you still have a pretty talented roster on there, and I think would be a good series. And for the win, I think the Islanders take this. I think the Islanders take this in 6. I think the Penguins do have a couple games there, but I think the Islanders, especially with how developed that core is, I think that core takes them to game 6 where they end up winning game 6.
Yeah, for me, the Penguins are the surprise of the season. I did not expect that. I think I had the Pens go missing the playoff quite substantially even, but they found ways early in the season to win games in overtime and always push games far and kind of always get a point at least, like always get it pushed to overtime. So they've been really, really good at like keeping games close, and that's one of the qualities of this team. And again, Sidney Crosby turned back the years, but you look at this matchup, and I think it's going to be close. I think it's going to be a very, very interesting series because it's going to be you mentioned before how you thought the press for the best 4th place team. I think the Islanders is like that is they have Barry Trotz, who is brilliant when it comes to this. Like, he is such a good mastermind.
Absolutely.
He's so clever, especially during the playoff, because when in the playoff, it's not goals or wins you anything, and he knows that. It comes off a strong foundation defensively, and then take your chances when you get them. And Barry Trotz is a master in that. So for me, I think Islanders has that little bit stronger playoff mentality, and I think that they have slightly better goaltending. So for me, those two factors give the Islanders the edge, and I think they take it in a Game 7.
Yeah, so for me, I don't even think the Islanders should be a 4th seed. Honestly, they could end and find their way to the Stanley Cup. Like, you wouldn't be too surprised with Barry Trotz. I mean, last year they found their way to the 3rd round against the Lightning.
Yeah, we've got a few games on them as well, so.
So yeah, I might actually take a step back. I guess I forgot that the Islanders were a 4th seed for a minute there. But yeah, I think this is going to be a little bit of a tougher series than it was when they swept the Penguins, because the Penguins were kind of on the down at that point and in their history. I think they're coming back out of it a little bit. I think their time is limited, though, the Penguins, for a cup. All their core is currently aging.
I think this is the best chance.
And Tristan Jarry, by the way, is not the answer. I don't know what makes them think Tristan Jarry is the answer. Again, talking about one-year wonder goaltenders, there's a million of them. See, I think just because Luke said 6, I was originally going to go 6. I'm going to say in 7. I think that the Penguins are good enough this year to give them a few games, unlike they did a couple years ago. But I still think, daggone, the defense and goaltending is going to drive the Pens insane.
And it's that weird thing where Sidney Crosby, this is probably his best chance he's ever going to get. Like, that for me is the way the Penguins win the series. It is by Sidney Crosby knowing that this is his last chance to win one and going all out for it and going into, like, basically going to McDavid and saying, okay, you might be the best in the future, but I'm still here, son. And completely turning back the years.
Yeah, and that's got to be another thing Connor McDavid's also got to realize is that if his team doesn't get depth and he doesn't start taking pay cuts or something, they're screwed. He'll realize it later in his career and ask for a trade. That's what'll happen.
Do a Jack Eichel.
He'll do a Jack Eichel, yeah.
Yeah.
All right, our last series, we got Capitals and Bruins, and this is one, I think, the better series we're going to see in the entire playoffs.
Yeah, I see the Capitals win the series, and that's only because I look at the Bruins roster and looking at their points this season. I think it was Patrice Bergeron had the only one with the most amount of points. Everyone else was in the 40s, and it's fine in the regular season. But I just think that you only have to rely on your players so much in order to get anywhere. And if Tuukka Rask is injured, you cannot start Yaroslav Halak, because Halak has been terrible this year from what I've seen, and he's been absolutely awful. And I think, the months of April and May haven't been great to the Capitals, especially after those 2 storylines that have come out about Tom Wilson. But I think they still have a complete enough roster to keep themselves at least in this series. And I think this is what the Capitals, especially if they can figure out a way to use that roster. And I think TJ Oshie is going to be my main player in this series, especially considering that what he has done this entire season has just been so impressive. Considering what happened to him, and I think since his father's passing, and I think he's definitely shown to be one of the better players on that Capitals team, aside from like Alex Ovechkin and Nicholas Backstrom. And I think if I have to say the prediction, I think the Capitals take this in. I'll say the Capitals take this in 6 games. I think the Capitals take it in 6 games, and yeah, the Bruins might push them to 7, but I think the Caps take care of it in like 6 games.
All right. So this depends to me. Do we know if Tuukka Rask actually is healthy at this point?
I think he might be, but I think he could be. If he's not that healthy, then that's a big problem for the Bruins.
If Tuukka Rask is healthy, I'm going to say Bruins in 7. I think the Bruins have better veteranosity when it comes to the playoffs. I think they consistently win in the playoffs, and I think they've got a top line to get it done. I also still don't trust the Capitals. They have yet to win a series since their Stanley Cup run of 2018. They've lost both the series that they've played since then. I'm just not sure I totally trust them yet. And the thing about it is this: yes, the Bruins lost some pieces. They are not the juggernaut they used to be, but it's not like their core is gone.
Like, for me, it's just difficult, this series.
It's a difficult one to pick, yeah.
This is the hardest one I had to pick, bro. This is the most difficult one because, again, I know the ones where I go for an upset. I feel like I want to go for that upset almost no matter what. So you kind of just, like, for instance, the Minnesota one, that's by heart. The Jets one, I feel like I talked myself into it so much that I can't really change it. This one here is just, it's so even. Like, no matter who wins, it's not going to upset. It's just two good teams. Like, you mentioned before how the Islanders doesn't deserve to be a fourth seed at all. Look at this division. Each and every team here could be first, and you would not bat an eye. Each of the four teams.
Well, except for maybe the Penguins, which is funny that they're the one team that's up there.
They're the one you would probably expect to be the lower seed, but at the same time, they've just been good this season. So this has been probably the hardest division. Like, outside, in terms of quality, throughout the entire division, and then you have Buffalo, who we don't talk about because I feel bad for the fans there. But it's just been a really good division, this one. And it's really, really strong. It has some really good depth to it. But yeah, you go look at that and you just see. You see two good teams here. You see a team with Alexander Ovechkin, who's gone the entire way. Most of that cast is still there, who went all the way to get the cup in 2018. And then you have the Bruins, who 1 year later came within one game of winning the cup. And it's mostly the same teams. Like, both can win. And I think I'm going to go with the Caps in 7. For now, could that change tomorrow? Absolutely.
All right. I feel like you got to stick with it though when you make a pick.
Oh, I made my pick. I think in the brackets it actually says Capitals wins in 6 on my profile. So I think that's what it says in my bracket. So I don't know. It's so difficult, this one.
Yeah, the only reason I try and stick with picks that I've made is just because it drives you so insane that if you were right in the first place and then changed your mind,
that's true.
It kills me when that happens. So since that time, I've stuck with it and I've done better, I think. Overall, I think it should be good. We actually start, if you want to see the Capital Bruins series, it starts tomorrow at 7:15. I can't, unfortunately, see the whole game because I have my own hockey game at 9:30 later that day.
Oh, good luck. Good luck with that.
Yeah. First goal the other day. Hopefully, we have a really short bench this game. We have 9 skaters. I don't even know how many of those guys are forwards. I'm a left wing. So I'm sitting here like, am I going to be the only left wing that shows up?
You just, again, take the position you can and just no need to race for every puck. Just
this is going to be one of those games where I have to self-regulate.
Yeah, smart hockey. Smart hockey, I think is the key words there. Oh, dear.
Yes, absolutely. All right, you want to tell you guys where they can find you?
Yep. You could find me at SHC Backup Account, well, ACC.
And you can find me on Mr_France2603 on Twitter, where you will find various Minnesota Wild, random hockey stuff, and Danish tweets sometimes, because, yeah.
Why not, right?
I know. If you want some multicultural, multilingual Twitter, then I'm the right guy. But yeah, I'm so excited for the playoffs. This is gonna be. I feel like each matchup is, like, almost all of the matchups are really, really good and has stories to them. I think the only matchup I'm slightly, it doesn't really have the greatest matchup. I think it's the Colorado series. Like that's my least excited. Like, it's gonna be good, but it lacks a storyline, in my opinion.
Yeah. And I think, you can find me at SamuelG22. I do all the kinds of hockey stuff you'd be looking forward to when it comes to predictions, previews, and actually, you can also find me on another network, The Grueling Truth, later tonight at 9:30, where we'll be discussing these playoff series again a little bit more in short and condensed. We also cover NBA, NFL, college sports, and others as well. So pretty much an all sports show for you there. But I think that's all we got. I think we covered the series pretty nicely. It's going to be fun to watch.
It's gonna be good, and I feel like we probably will do some shows throughout the playoff as well, just to discuss what's going down, what happens.
Yeah, absolutely. I would think unless it's like a sweep or something, we'll probably cover them as we're getting into game 6s and 7s.
Yeah.
Just to kind of recap series, go forward, and talk about them. But for now, I think that's all we got. Thank you all for joining.
I have one question before
go
we
ahead. Go ahead.
I think last time I said who I thought was gonna go all the way to the Stanley Cup, like my matchup. I think I said it was gonna be Toronto versus Carolina, with Carolina winning, and I'm sticking with that.
Toronto is not making it to the Stanley Cup final.
I'm
just sticking.
It's a cup to Freddie. Freddie deserves the cup.
The Hurricanes have a significantly harder road to get there, and yet it's still more likely that the Hurricanes get there than it is the Maple Leafs.
It's also if they make that road, they're winning. That's my logic.
Yeah.
But all right, you guys have a playoff prediction just to?
Oh yeah, we gotta finish this with Stanley Cup favorites. I think I'm gonna go Vegas, and probably either the Lightning or the Bruins. Or pardon me, not the Bruins, the Islanders. Either the Lightning or the Islanders. And then you're going to have the Vegas Golden Knights on the other side. And I think regardless of who it is, I think Vegas will win.
All right. I'll also say Vegas. I say Vegas goes back to the Cup final. I'll also say, I don't know. I guess I'll just say I'll say Vegas Islanders. I think the Islanders could have a chance if they could really get past that first couple rounds. If they have a strong enough court, I think that'd be a great series too.
All right, and I think that's all we got for today. So thank you all for tuning in, and we'll see you